Okay, so before we get started, I wanted to, for those of you that did attend our SC2 conference, and Mr. Campo, we missed you, but still a solid performance. Congrats on your 15K for your push. So that still gets recognized. I didn't miss that for sure. So who was at SC2? I want to make sure. Okay. Feedback, what did you like? This is not the interview. This is just me getting feedback on every time we have an event. It's always good to debrief. So what were some big themes, big takeaways, highlights for you? I'm just curious. Cheyenne.
The personal CSPs doing their own demonstrations. And
you got a chance to watch?
Like good. On everything, though, the cookware, the
was there anyone specifically you remember standing out to you?
It was a guy, he was doing his cookware. He was tall, skinny.
Okay.
Yeah, the older guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
That was really good.
Oh, that's Darren Barnes. Yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah, he used to be part of our division. Okay, cool. Yeah, but he's from the West Palm Beach area. Okay. He's great. Okay, good. What about you?
Matt King's closing speech.
That's
mind.
Yeah.
No,
epic.
At least 7 like.
I have like 4 pages of just writing stuff down.
Yeah.
Matt King's closing talk, and we'll get you to record. You have to watch that. Matt King's closing talk, one of the best talks every SC2 every year. The most talked about every year.
The last 4 from the first night were just fantastic.
Which was
Matt King,
Trey Ketchum on the recommendations.
Yes.
Aaron Luden.
First recommendations on that I did a lot of instruction on, and that was
awesome. Awesome. Other highlights, talks, tips, thoughts.
Biggest thing I got out of it was a lot of them. I noticed one thing that all of them would, every speaker would at least stop on is, social circles. That's something that
circle of
influence that everyone focused on a lot, and that means all of these successful people are highlighting one thing. It has to mean something.
Good. And one thing I will say about SC2, and you'll experience this at some point when you make it to one of our conferences, it's hard to explain until you go.
Yeah.
Am I right? Especially when you've already been to our events. It's like, well, how can it be different from what Jeff did at SC1 or the division meeting? You've been to both, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, all right, well, how much bigger and better can it be? It's bigger and better by a lot. Okay. So this is not part of the interview. I just want to say I'm super proud, regardless of TLA, if you get in, if you don't get into TLA. We just really had a great representation from a sales standpoint. Even though we were the 4th division, it was one of our best performances in quite some time. Not to mention I guess the talk of the town was just the momentum the Florida Caribbean division has, how you guys carried yourself at the conference. You guys were at the front. You took the most notes. You were the most, not 90%, but 100% engaged, professional. Even after hours when it wasn't business, but you guys still maintained professionalism. I wouldn't expect anything else from our group, and I just, this is the proud dad, right, if you will. You know, my dad used to always say, well, he'd always talk about the other kids, but my kids. That's kind of how I feel with you guys. So anyway, I don't say good luck, even though it's on the keynote. I say success because at least in Puerto Rico, they don't let you say good luck. You say éxito, right? Which means go get them. You have this. You got this. Yeah. So before we even start the interview, I think it's important to recognize that being here is already a big deal. And if you're watching this online, because we're recording this, you getting a chance to meet and learn about what I'm going to speak about for the next 30, 45 minutes means you're in a position where your manager has high thoughts about you. Your manager feels like you have potential. Your manager knows what I look for in Leadership Academy candidates, and all of those line up together. So for what it's worth, if you sell not a single knife after this, if you're not with Cutco anymore, we appreciate all the work you put into it, and I always have a lot of appreciation. But we're here because we want to take it further and possibly broaden your horizons with opportunity. And I want to make it really clear today, this is not the official interview. This is more all the information so that I don't have to repeat myself. So this is, what is TLA? How does it work? Why do we have it? How can I get in? If I do get in, how would it work during the school year? What are my options? All that. When you finish this part, you'll know everything about that. And if for some reason something's not answered, feel free to ask me one-on-one. If you're over $8,000, you'll get a one-on-one interview, and that's for a chance for me to get to know you a little bit better. Some of you I know better than others just because I've seen you for multiple events. And some of you I don't know at all other than just saying hi to you, but this is my chance to really connect, and that's your interview, okay? So today, I'm really looking for the best of the best. Right now is a super busy time because everyone's trying to sell for the post-conference pop contest. Everyone wants to get into Puerto Vallarta now. Everyone wants to win a free gourmet set at, was it $5,000?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the richest contest our company has put in a long time. Meaning the amount of money we're put it on the table, because we want to make it very clear that we want people to finish strong in August. So why would I do it in the middle of this week? Because now's the best time to do it. Right now, if it were up to me from a sales standpoint, I would let you guys sell. But it's my opportunity to meet with the best of the best. My objective is to build the Florida Caribbean division. My objective is to staff all the offices in South Florida, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, and up and down the East Coast. And as a division manager, this is my talent recruiting pool. This is my chance to see, okay, who's performing and who can we bring onto TLA to help broaden our leadership team and make our team a lot better. And as you know, and you're part of the Florida Caribbean division, all of our offices carry themselves a certain way, whether it's the professionalism from anchor number one, explosive team building, because our offices always love recruiting and team building. That's why most of you are probably recommended by a friend, right? How many of you were not recommended by a friend? Did you get a letter?
No, I found it like online.
Online, okay. Well, thank goodness we had that ad. Otherwise we wouldn't have Laura here. Okay. How did you hear about us, Colin?
Luke, I met Luke.
Yeah, you already knew Luke from school, right? Or from friends?
From a friend, yeah.
I remember that. Okay. Explosive team building. Anchor number 3, high standards of sales performance. That was the push week. And that's, of course, any type of push week. And then finally, my favorite anchor is anchor number 4, which is aggressive pursuit of growth. And that's why we're here today to talk about our model for growth, which is Leadership Academy. Okay. And of course, if you're going to work with Cutco, the whole goal is for you to gain skills. But if you're going to work in the Florida Caribbean division, we want you to gain the most powerful professional and personal growth experience. We call that what? M3PG. And some of you have been to at least 2 meetings. You hear that all the time. Why? Because that's the mission for our division, is to give you the most powerful professional and personal growth experience. And as many of these as possible, right? Whether it's Light Bulb 7 and Matt King's talk, or maybe you're like me and I went to a meeting thinking, and I quote, dude, I just want to sell money and go party with my money. That was me when I was a college student. And then I sat at one meeting, and for some reason, Earl Kelly, who is now the region manager of Northeast, talked about advancement and how it can help your future. And I said, oh, I want to do that. And I could do that. And here I am today, 20 summers later. So I travel often to Puerto Rico. One of the things I see all the time is this great sign, which I think really embodies the type of organization we want to be. We want to be the team that respectfully and humbly has really high standards, that we don't compare ourselves to other people because we don't need to, because our people create success, our people perform at a high level. And I want to share that. Right now is exciting. In 2016, we're going to have the #1 branch in the entire company. We're going to have the #2 branch in the entire company. We're going to have the #1 new district office for a full year in the region. We've got one of the most dynamic staffs in the entire company. And why I'm here today is because it's getting bigger. And we want many of you to be a part of it. And that's what we're excited about. And we're here today because we're going to talk about Leadership Academy. So before we continue, let me shut the door so no one interrupts. Before we continue, if your parents were talking to you and say, hey, Mom, I'm going up to Fort Lauderdale to meet the Filipino guy, he's the boss, and we're having an interview for TLA, and they say, well, honey, what is Leadership Academy? What have you been saying to them? I'm just curious. What was your explanation for why you got suited up today, Mr. Campo, and why you would want to come up, Jacob, to Fort Lauderdale today?
It's more like an elite group of the company that basically gives you the opportunity to learn things, to better yourself business-wise, and an entrepreneurial standpoint, like
That's true.
I told her, I explained to her like how to dress, fitness plant ways. I explained to her like it would just benefit me in the sense of helping me with my time management, money management, in a lot of ways.
Okay. Any other explanations? What are you telling Mom and Dad?
Just like growth in the company.
Yeah.
And just like financial skills and stuff like that.
I think that first part that Mr. Campos said, the growth within the company. This is your way to advance. Okay. Think of it this way, though. If you want to, from a complete business standpoint, this is Vector Marketing's leadership and management training program. Every company has one. Right? Every major company has a leadership and management training program, and this is our version of it for 18 to 25-year-old rising seniors and college students. And why do we have it? And you've seen multiple slides like this. But for example, a good friend of mine, John Vroman, who's also very, very, very well-known public speaker in the collegiate circuit, he interviewed the founder, Jeff Hoffman. He's the founder of Priceline.com. And they asked Jeff, what were the keys to success? And he said 2 things. You want to have a company that solves real problems and make sure you partner up with the right people. So why do we have Leadership Academy? And I think, Jacob, you said this earlier. It's because we want to make sure that our best people always pay attention to this. You're always the average of the people you associate with. If you hang out with people that don't sell a lot, you also won't sell a lot. If you hang out with people that party all the time and grades flop, odds are, not always, odds are, I think I defied those odds, but odds are you're probably in the same boat. If you sleep until noon or if you're up in the gym at 5, usually you're around the same types of people. What we're trying to do is create an atmosphere where you're learning from us, people who want to help you grow, surrounding yourself with people like you who want to grow, and then learning how to teach for next summer, which is assistant, branch, CSP, whatever the route might be. That's why we have Leadership Academy. And for some of you, I think, Jake, you had mentioned this, that might be the light bulb for you of why Leadership Academy would be great for you. Why Leadership Academy? Because our company has a responsibility. Actually, John, I was speaking to you about this privately. We have an opportunity to impact America. And I know that sounds so strange, the knife company, right? We have an opportunity to impact America because Vector Marketing is the largest college student recruiting company in North America. And you can even put this on your resume. You can tell your parents this. There's no company in North America that works with more 18 to 25-year-olds than we do. So if we do work with those people, and we're the highest, I guess the highest concentration, company that works with the highest concentration of those people, we impact the youth. That's really important. We're the company that gives the youth skills. On the plane the other day, someone said, "So what do you do?" And I never say I sell Cutco because I don't sell Cutco anymore. And one of the things I thought of something kind of cool to say through a recommendation from a friend. I said, "I help college students' resumes not stink." Like, what? I said, "I help college students' resumes not stink and have a better leverage when they graduate." Oh, and it's through Cutco and all that. But that's what we do. We have, think of all the people that come through our doors. Our president, Al Leonardo, said, we're not the Ivy League company. We work with everyone. We give everyone a chance here. I mean, look, even our interview today is very diverse. Right? Our management team is diverse. SC2, every walk of life, selling kitchen cutlery. You notice the managers are all very different. The reps are all very different. And we really have a big responsibility because this is who we work with. This is a very large group. This is also a very tough group, if not done right. Because they talk about the things that Generation Y lacks, which is sometimes discipline, excitement, right? Generation Y is known for hopping from different jobs. Well, here we want to create a different atmosphere. We want to create the Generation Y not, so that a lot of successful students, whether they stay with us or not, they leave at 22, 23, 24, 25, and they come back and say, "I'm a doctor now," or "I run a business," or "I run multiple businesses. I'm a nurse. I'm a politician." One of my former Cutco, actually my role play partners, one of my role play partners in TLA is now running for Senate or running for Congress back in my hometown. We sold knives together. It's pretty cool. And did other fun stuff as college students together, right? So I think that's another reason why Leadership Academy is so important to us, because it's our company's way of impacting the future. Also, Leadership Academy is important because the USA Today, and you've seen this article if you've come to enough of my meetings, the USA Today, and this is a few years ago when it was better, it's worse now, shows that being a college student is really tough, and the number one thing that's hurting is debt for college. Whether your parents are in a position to pay for college in one check, or whether some of you can only go to school if you make money. I mean, most students have a hard time finding jobs within their majors because it's more competitive. Most students are walking out with about $27,000 to $30,000 in debt. Most college students are taking about 8 months to find a job. And this is directly from the USA Today. So what we're trying to do is create this so that 2 in 5 people get a job out of college, according to the USA Today. We want you to be on the green, not on the red. We want it to be so that you end up like Scott Dennis at the conference, who said, "Well, I got more job offers than anyone at the University of Notre Dame." So he could pick what he wanted to do, versus I had friends that graduated and they worked because that was what they got. Does anyone have friends or family that are working in a major or a field that's not their major and not by choice? Right? So we want to prevent that. It's another reason why we have TLA. Another reason we have Leadership Academy, and I think this is one of the parts that I love, is that this is the most talked about college student job. Who would have thought you'd be selling knives? I know I didn't. Right? Think of the odds. Let's call it April, March, when you're with your friends hanging out with the Yeti cooler on the beach. Yeah, I would have been if I was in college here, right? It's like, man, I want to sell kitchen cutlery this summer. No, expensive kitchen cutlery. And then I want to recruit all my friends so I go to Mexico with that company. No one would have thought that. But what's cool is that the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, many great credible publications are talking about the Cutco experience. You had mentioned, Jake, entrepreneurial skills. And they talk about how eye contact and confidence are things that people who go through TLA and Leadership Academy will gain. And that's one thing we're really excited about, is helping students get that. Another part of why we have Leadership Academy, is because we have great alumni. We have people that, for example, Travis Kalanick, if you're familiar, he's one of the co-founders of Uber. I would say Uber is pretty known.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, being sarcastic. But that young man, I don't know how long he sold Cutco for, but I gotta believe there were some skills he took from there into his now mega life-changing business, right? And you've seen this article of multiple people have sold Cutco in the past. We have Leadership Academy because there are skills in TLA that we know for a fact and we can say confidently, no matter what your major might be, and I'm going to go through your majors in a second, that we have skills that will apply to all of your majors. If I were to go through an undecided is an okay answer, majors or soon-to-be majors?
Biology with integrative health science and pre-med.
So ideally research or pre-med?
Pre-med.
Okay, great. Doctors in the family?
Both my parents and have my uncles now.
No pressure. Yeah, me too.
Oh, I went from pre-med and now I got an internship at Cisco Systems with my aunt.
Great. So
So,
complete different change. Okay.
Computer sales minor and principle of economics, business managing is my major.
So ultimately business/sales,
Mhm.
maybe systems operations because it's Cisco, right? Some maybe.
I'm doing computer programming with it, so I learned how to sell the networking of computers.
There you go. So now I sell computers, right? Still selling.
Yeah.
Business/sales.
Okay,
A
there-
minor in psychology.
You have family in sales?
No, my mom's actually a doctor, and my dad's a photographer.
Okay, great.
But I've always loved real estate.
That's great.
Finance.
That's right. I remember that from the SODM.
Major in marketing, minor in economics.
Okay.
Major in advertising, minor in business.
Right. So I know for a fact that the skills we give you, whether it's time management, empathy, positive self-talk, consistency, that's not specific to kitchen cutlery. That's not specific to just our position. Or maybe it's these skills, right? It's asking for help, listening, mastering your thoughts. See, what I like to do is I like to throw a lot of proof in your face so that if you get into TLA, one of the things I love about our TLA acceptance is they all appreciate being in it and they don't take it for granted because we know these skills will apply later on. And maybe that's something that's exciting for you in terms of maybe why you're trying to get a spot for TLA. Another reason we have Leadership Academy is because selling is something you have to do in life. And I hope that you gain that. Even if you stop selling Cutco, being able to sell a product or an idea or who,
Yourself.
right? Or yourself, right? Pre-med, right? Young lady, do you have an idea of what concentration or just doctor for now and we'll see later?
Probably. I like neurology so far.
Okay, and that might change. Okay. But you have to be able to sell the patient on following your advice. You have to sell the hospital on hiring you. You have to sell multiple different types of people. If you're in business advertising, I mean, that's the whole thing is a sale. So I think what's great about this experience, they always say one of the hardest jobs in the world is sales, but the highest paying jobs in the world are also entertainment or sales. Yeah, you talk about real estate. You see moguls all over the place. Okay, so keeping that in mind, maybe that's something you're excited about. This part, I really don't show these slides until the interview, but these are just some past text messages that I've saved over the years of people who have gotten into Leadership Academy. This is one of my favorites. Alana actually is a honors major at the University of Florida. And she put down, I feel like I've learned a lot more in the past 2 days, this is from Leadership Academy, than a whole year of macroeconomics at school. And see, as the teacher, that makes my heart sing, not against UF, but just we really do try to provide some significant value. Talking about Grateful and how he was able to pay his own bills, Bruno. Talking Alex, how he's learned to become a responsible young man, someone who comes from a background where money was no issue. And I mean like really money was no issue, but learning to be self-independent and not relying on his parents' wealth, which I love. David talking about how he's being appreciated here and so forth and so forth. Vitor, Elijah, and Erica, Caroline, the examples go on. And one of the things I know that our TLA members love is that they have an opportunity to really impact people. Maybe that's part of the TLA that you like. Maybe whether you're coming from Andrew's office, you're coming from Luke's office, or two best offices, you've got two managers who really care about the success of their team. And that's why a lot of people want to get into TLA, to have that experience of serving other people. And ultimately, and I'll wrap up with this, we really want to help you find the best version of yourself. We want to have you become better as a person, become better as a human being. And in the most selfish way, I want you to come back and blame us. Right? So when you are accepted, let's say, Laura, let's say into med school, and they say, well, tell us about this Cutco knife job, and what did you learn there? And they're very impressed, and they remember that from the interview, and you get in. I want that text message. Say, Jeff, your fault. Cutco, your fault. TLA, 2 years of TLA. Thank you, Jeff. That got me in. See, that's how we know we did a good job. Because at some point, money's not an issue when you're doing really well with any company. So what goes beyond the money? It's the service. It's the things that you get done. It's the accomplishments. It's the ability to impact and serve people. And we want to help you create positive habits. Leadership Academy is about taking young people who perform at Cutco selling and creating powerful habits that will help them later. And one of the habits we talked about as an example from multiple meetings, remembers what habit I talked about the last 3 meetings. The habit of saving what? Money and interest. Right? The most powerful force on earth is compound interest. And remember this from the example. If you save $3 a day, yeah, you remember this. At a moderate rate of 10%, you got $1 million in the bank. But here's what's interesting. If you look at the U.S. economy and you look at the average American, they usually have that much instead. And if you wait to get started till age 30 to save money, that same amount of savings of $3 a day only yield you $316,000. You just lost $700,000 for one reason, because you didn't start early enough. So what's great about me and what I do, I get to work with people your age at an age where it is early enough to get started. So what's the lesson? What's the lesson? You got to start the habits now. I want to be fit. You got to start now. I want to make money. I want to start now. I want to have a great job when I get into college. I want to start now. Believe me, I've heard it. And I'm not so old that when I was in college is out of times. Oh, you can wait till junior and senior year. You can. You really can. But then you're like everyone else who waits till junior and senior year. Our habits, our lives change when our habits change. We talked about that from our division meeting. But Jeff, I'm too young. I'm still a college student. I just graduated from high school. And I even have parents that will say, hey, Jeff, my kid, I just want my student to be a kid. But what I want to say is that you're not too young to create the right habits. Right? We talked about our high school experience. You're not too young to do things that are very important. You're not too young. And then, of course, at some point, you keep saying I'm too young. And then eventually, what do you say? Oh, well, Jeff, oh, come on, I'm too old for that. I couldn't get into shape like that anymore. I love seeing my friends that are my age. You can see it. Like, Jeff, man, you look so different, because there are habits that are really important to me. And what I want to do is help instill some of those habits into you. Plus, you're never too young. We talked about this at the meeting, right? Mozart was 8 when he wrote his first symphony. Or Anne Frank was 13, and she wrote that very important diary. Ralph Waldo Emerson was 14 when he applied and got into Harvard. Joan of Arc was 17 years old when she led the French army into victory. And of course, whether you're an Apple fan or whether you're a Microsoft fan, Bill Gates, moderately successful, I'd say. At 19 years old is when he started Microsoft. So if there's any light bulb that I get from you, and I hope to pull from you today, is that you're not wasting your time trying to get into this. You're not wasting your time selling knives and setting up Cutco appointments to see moms. It's not a waste of your time. It's worth your time. And financially, of course, we could talk about that too. And one of the things I want to share with you is that there's a lot of value in classes. Right? I have a lot of parents that will talk to me about what they want their students to learn, their kids to learn. And what I can tell you is that we bring a lot of value to what classes we give you in TLA. TLA is not a physical school. It's a curriculum. And I always compare it to different types of classes that are out at some of the most unique and most elite universities. For example, MIT, I would say no one thinks you're stupid if you go to MIT. If you know anything about Cornell, it's Ivy League, Yale, Harvard. Okay, RISD is arguably the top art school in the country. Right? Cornell, Brown, Ivy League, and these are some. Although tree climbing, I don't know that I would consider tree climbing elite or illustrious, but in Cornell, you can pay thousands of dollars to take tree climbing. So I would argue that when we're teaching students how to save money, how to budget, how to invest at 18 years old, how to save for a house, how to dress professionally, how to public speak, how to interview people, how to be interviewed, how to create a budget plan, how to negotiate a lease, how to lower interest rates on a car and negotiate, I would say we might have a better value than tree climbing. Sarcastic, right? I would say. So here's what I want to share. If you get into the Leadership Academy, here are the things that we teach you. Obviously, first and foremost, there are 2 types of lessons, and you can write this down. There are Cutco lessons and then life lessons. That's what TLA is. Cutco is Cutco lessons and life lessons. Every time you have a TLA session, whether it's the weekly or monthly, it's always one of those 2 or both. Okay. From the Cutco lessons, obviously, what do you think we'll be teaching you from a Cutco side?
That's
How to sell more and also how to manage an office, right? Running interviews, Cutco training, PDI, team meetings, how to create an alliance, how to run your office. And then there are, of course, the life lessons, which if you get into Leadership Academy, there are 5 things you'll be good at managing. Those 5 things are right here. You'll be good at managing money, your money, other people's money, your team's money, your offices, your company's money. You'll be good at managing time, your time, other people's time. Energy, whether it's the fitness or the workout system or just the overall energy. Positive attitude. Managing others, meaning being the boss, being the leader. And of course, managing the most important person. Who's that?
So,
You have to be able to manage yourself to help other people. So that's what you can look forward to if you do get accepted into Leadership Academy. And one of the things I'll say about Leadership Academy is that it can really create what I call the Cutco track. And you've heard this at some meetings, but I'm hoping that for some of you, this is a great light bulb. Maybe it's not, but if this has gone off for you, summer 1, what you're going through now is earning a spot into TLA, selling, making money, getting to the higher commissions. And then, of course, going through TLA, summer 2, coming back and running an office or be in some type of leadership management role. And summer 3, before junior or senior year, either branching again like Andrew Evans in Metro Miami. And look what he's done, right? Taking it from a top 20 office to right now, the #1 office in the company. Or instead of growing a business, learning how to sell full-time one-on-one. I think Jake, you talked about, I love selling. Sometimes people run a branch and they'll learn how to build a business and they take that experience the next summer and do what Taylor Max Ricard or Andy Janti or Aaron Luden have done. And that's sell and run their own private kind of business. And then summer number 4 and beyond, sometimes we have district manager positions available for career. And that's our year-round Cutco position. Or they like to do sales on a full-time year-round basis. And that ideally is the Cutco track. Now, not everyone follows this, but if you're talking about the real M3 PG experience and then going after college and having options, this is the ticket right here. Okay. So I want to explain the details of the different types of positions real quick. Field sales manager is someone who makes 50% on commission. Okay, that's someone who during college will come back for the summers, and their whole goal is to make 30 to 40 to 50,000, and that's what they want to try and do within either summer or a year. So if money is really the most important factor for you, Leadership Academy would be an avenue for you to learn how to create that. Assistant manager is more of a supportive role, and a lot of our students will take an assistant manager position during the school year to get extra added experience. It's not necessary for branching, but a lot of people like to get that extra training. Those of you that are in Luke's office, Luke was an assistant manager in here for quite some time during the school year before he branched. And of course, branch manager, all of you come from a branch office. That's where a student has their own office for 4 to 5 months, runs an office operation from scratch, and creates their own business. And the district manager is either someone who's a career position with us, or they're done with college or school's not for them, and they want something kind of as a 2-3 year first job out of college. Or in some cases, they use direct district manager as a stepping stone for their next career. So those are all the different things. When I talk about branch manager, from your impression of Andrew and Luke, how would you explain branch manager to your parents? I'm just curious. Hey, Mom, I want to try and earn a spot so I can be a branch manager. Honey, what's that? What do you say? I'm just curious. Cheyenne.
The leader of the sales team, always motivating, trying to get me to be the best I can be because they know I can be like that.
Okay.
And just helping me grow throughout the company so I can advance and become a branch manager like them.
Okay, great.
Other stuff Shane was saying also just an example for new sales reps.
Right. From a business standpoint, a branch manager is a Cutco company startup for just 4 to 5 months. Okay, and what it is, it's different because if you're familiar with a franchise, anyone know what a franchise is? Give me an example. Walmart, McDonald's, Chipotle, right? Does anyone know Smoothie King randomly is one of the top franchises? Profit, yeah, it's weird. Who'd have known?
Yeah.
So it's like, for example, Smoothie King, and how does it work? Well, you need to give Smoothie King a certain amount of money, and then they'll give you all the things you need, and then they just take a cut, and that's how it works. Then there's a startup. How does a startup work?
They just give you everything.
Yeah, they give you all the money, but you have to figure everything out. Okay, and they want to cut. See, what's different about what Cutco does, it's almost a combination of both. It's a franchise in the sense that we have all the programs already laid out. How does an office work? How does the interview go? How do you recruit people? Where do you find the people? How do you start an office up? but the company doesn't require any initial startup from the individuals like a franchise. In fact, the company contributes money up to $9,000 and more in bonuses to help fund and fuel the office. So it's like the best of both worlds. So a branch manager will open up their office in April, right after school. And a lot of times we're able to get them out of classes early so they can get to their territory. Some students will have a branch office here in Florida. Some might want to branch abroad and earn a spot speaking Spanish in Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, for example. Some students want to ask to branch abroad up and down the East Coast, where they'll get a chance to both travel, immerse themselves in a different culture, and run a business. Right? So for example, if you want to learn Spanish, how do you learn Spanish?
Speaking.
Speak it and get dropped off in Colombia or fill in whatever country. That's called immersion. And so one of the things some of our students like to do is they want a business entrepreneurial experience and they want an immersion. So they run a branch, let's say in Puerto Rico. That was Esteban Rec from Fort Lauderdale. He ran all of Caguas, Puerto Rico. He's from here, he's American, or actually Latin descent, but speaks English, went down there, practiced both his Spanish and his English skills, and he ran a branch profitable office at the same time. Charles Stewart is one of our students from Fort Lauderdale, wanted to branch abroad. He wanted to be in a different culture, so he moved and earned a branch spot in Sumter, South Carolina. Nothing like Fort Lauderdale, but was able to start and run a business from scratch there. So branch manager then, in April, May, and June, will recruit their team through a lot of interviews, advertising, building the business from scratch. And then in July, of course, what's the big sales period? You just finished up. What's that called? SC2 push. So in July, they're going to really work with their team more so. And in July into August, what they're now doing is managing the team that they have to help finish their goals. And then the manager also personally sells with their team. So you'll see Andrew and Luke selling a lot of Cutco here in the next couple of weeks with you guys. Okay. Also, I want to just a friendly reminder that in the future, whether you're interested in Cutco as a career or not, people who perform at a high level through college also open up opportunities to secure options as district managers too. So here's the process. We're going to be interviewing today, most of you one-on-one, and how you finish the summer with sales, attitude, your manager's feedback will determine if you get accepted. At SC3 is when we have a big ceremony. It's like the NBA or NFL draft where the commissioner comes up and announces who they're picking. I do the same thing. It's about 30 minutes, and everyone who gets it starts cheering. And we have a fun team night, ice-breaking first session afterwards. So it's kind of a celebration night out after. Then the first, I'll write down. There are two parts to the actual training. There's the monthly portion, and then there's the weekly portion. Okay. The weekly portion is about 1.5 to at most 2 hours a week. And it's done at a local office. Okay. So for example, people who are in the Broward County area would come to my office. If someone's still in Miami, they would go there. Those of you that go to FSU would go to Carlos Cordero, who's actually FC alumni, by the way, so he's on the same programs. Or if there's a student where they don't have an office close to them, they just do virtually back into my office. So that's 1 to 2 hours a week where the students will work on the material. They're taught some of the lessons. There are role play sessions. There's a chance for me to teach on a weekly basis, both the Cutco and the life lessons. Then on a monthly basis, I run a specific training here back in Fort Lauderdale. And some students will come back from school for it once a month. Like for example, Luke would come back from Gainesville once a month, do laundry, visit family, see friends down here, come to the training. And it's done one Saturday a month. Now, it's a Saturday, so it doesn't impact school, but it is a Saturday, so it does impact maybe a football game or something important that one Saturday a month. So we are looking for people to make that sacrifice, but we make sure that we make it worth their time based on the lessons and based on the growth. And almost every time we have a team night out afterwards. It's almost like Cutco reunion every single month. And then this is where I will give major assignments and lessons. And then from each month, from September to October to only in November, December, what we do is we give assignments that I will check, and that will go into each candidate's score. And every candidate has a matrix score. The total score is 23. And personal sales, how much money they're saving, and their ability to complete assignments will determine their score. The highest ranked scores will get the best options. And everyone goes through the same exact training from September until December. And then in December, we then decide, okay, who's more on track for running a branch office, who's more on track for running an assistant, who's more on track for selling full-time. So if you do get accepted in the TLA, no one has to make a decision as to what they want to be doing next summer. They just have to get into TLA first. It's kind of like you don't have to decide your career now, your freshman year of college. In fact, your major might change. You worry about that later. Just get into college first. That's how it works. Okay? So that's the time commitment. Any questions on the time commitment? So I can be clear. Yes, sir.
Are there set dates for how many times a week it goes to 1 or 2 hours, or is it just?
This is a set schedule. It's the same time every week, so it's convenient. And depending on which office you would work out of, if you were accepted, the manager will let you know this is the time we do our 1 to 2 weeks. And then there's also self-study, video training, and so forth, like any class. Okay. So far, so good? Easy. Okay. This is a little bit off topic, but don't forget your fall selling opportunity. All of you have worked hard to get to $8, $10, $15, $20, $2,000 in sales. The most important thing is utilizing that. Like, for example, when you go to school, and that's the power of dirty 30, isn't it? Part-time work, full-time pay. So let's say you're working during the school year. Part-time work's about 5 to 10 appointments. Some students will do this 5 appointments. Robbie Madfis went to school at Northeastern University. He would do 1 appointment to party at the bars. He would do 1 appointment on Friday right after class before he went out to party at the bars. Saturday he did 1 after 1 o'clock because he party at the bar. And then Sunday he would do 1 or 2 depending on how much money he wanted to make for the week. And he did all of them virtually in his pajamas. He didn't really have to leave the house. So on 5 to 10 appointments, how many should you sell on?
Statistically 3 again.
So statistically 60%, right? So you're talking 3 to 6 sales. What's the average order with the company?
$300.
About 300. Now some of you have higher average orders, but let's just say it's 300. That's 900 to 1800 in CPO. We'll call it 1K to 2K. And if you're at dirty 30, here's what's really cool. That student just earned $300 to $600 on 5 hours worth of work. And I just think that even if you don't get into the TLA, this is worth working hard now to finish the summer so you can do this. And then let's say it's a push week where someone wants to make an impression on TLA, or maybe it's just I spent all my money, I need to make more money time, or maybe it's whatever the case may be. Double the amount of appointments, double the sales, double the income. I just don't know many places where a student can pick their own schedule and make this type of money part-time, full-time. I mean, it's one of the greatest experiences in college when you don't have to worry about money. So what's great is that our students who are in TLA, they do this, so they're making money, but they also save a lot. And they know how to save because they're either saving for their branch or they're saving to invest money. Also, these students know how to pay their bills because they can. That's the greatest thing. Our students know how to be self-sufficient with their money. So just, again, if anything, maybe you're not even accepted into TLA, work really hard now so later at FSU, at Miami-Dade, at wherever you're going to school, St. Joseph's, make sure you work hard so that you can do this. And I've been to college both ways. Before Cutco, where I spent all my money and then I was just kind of praying and mom and dad would say yes to the loan or to the allowance, which is really going out money. And then after Cutco, where I never had to worry about it. Having money makes makes college so much more fun and more flexible. So keep in mind that. And I think there's a value in having options. If you're gung-ho branch right now, that's great, but you may not be when we get to October, November. If you are not sure, don't think you could run a branch, keep an open mind, because if you get in TLA, I mean, you guys know Luke's story. Luke was very adamant, like, I'm not branching. There's no way I would branch. And Luke's going to be the number 2 or number 1 branch in the nation. See, the great thing is our students right now don't need to worry about next year. They just need to get into Leadership Academy. And people who finish the program from September through March are guaranteed 100% some type of paid leadership management program position for next summer, no matter what happens. Okay? So here's the next step. A couple things I'm looking for so you know how to earn a spot. Number 1, I'm looking for overall commitment. What are the things that you've made or missed? I think having seen several of you multiple times already bodes well for you. Like Colin, because I know you by face, that already bodes well. But see, as you know, showing up doesn't mean everything, right? Showing up alone doesn't do it. You have to be present, you have to perform. So part of what I also look for is my personal impression. Is this someone who's professional or not? On time or not? Coachable or not? What are the things that I've noticed? What are my impressions of that individual? But then also not just my evaluation, but what does your manager say? What does Andrew and what does Luke say, positive or not so positive, about where that student stands? Another part of what's really important for people that we accept in the Leadership Academy is that we want our students to be good with money, because if they are accepted into the branch position, the company gives $9,000 plus in support. So what do you think the company wants to know before they give $9,000 plus to a 19-year-old?
If you can manage
If they know what they're doing, right? And they're not going to blow it off something stupid, right? So they need to see that they have what's called a management savings account. It's an account that many of you, actually most of you have already started a savings account. Who started a savings account already? Okay,
Not the companies.
Okay. The company asks that you start one with the company so they can see it. It's non-interest bearing, but at the same time, it's really just more of a commitment account so the company can see. Keep in mind, if and when you do start your commitment account, the company allows you, at the click of a button and an email, to have it released if for some reason someone needs money. But what it does is it allows the company to see that the student's willing to save money and knows how to save money. Okay, that's a big part of it. And so you can talk to your manager about the appropriate amount to get your management savings account going. And of course, the summer CPO, like what you've sold thus far, does count, combined with push week performance. If you've done over 10K, 15K, maybe you didn't have a great push, maybe you did have a great push. And what you do in August. Most of you should have met with Luke or Andrew to talk about the rest of the summer. And Andrew's going to give me those plans. And I'm going to see, okay, what did you and Andrew agree to? What did you hit? I think that's really important, because if you're a branch manager and we offer $9,000 and you get a coveted branch spot and you get a chance to run an office for a company, we want to know that that type of person, when they were a rep, finished up through their agreements. So they'll do the same thing as a branch manager. Okay. So here are a couple of assignments. Number one, if you haven't already, ask your manager to add you to the WhatsApp group for the TLA interviews. It's the same group from SE2. Okay, so does anyone know if they're not added onto it? Okay, talk to Andrew, reach out to him and make sure he adds you. Number two, text me personally any hot updates. So I'll see it on the group chat, but I'll be honest with you, the group chat dings all day long for me sometimes, and I don't always check it. But if you send me a personal text, and I'll give you my number in a second, it'll be one of those, okay, I notice, oh, there's Cheyenne again selling. Oh, I see, there's Laura. Make sure you have your option to stay on my radar. Oh, third assignment is make sure that you're signed up for SC3. If you have a conflict with it, or for whatever reason you're not sure, make sure you reach out to your manager and let them know we need to work something out, because that's an important event. In fact, one of our first sessions of Leadership Academy, for those of you that are accepted, happened at that event after the actual SC3 that night. Okay. And then last but not least, just make sure you're selling a lot of Cutco. That's the key. Like if someone comes to this interview super dressed up, ready to roll, and they look good, and they say they're excited, but they sell nothing, that's not someone who's going to get accepted, because we need performers too. If you talk, you guys have such a hard time because you guys come from two of the best TLA acceptances I've ever had. Luke and Andrew both sold a lot, both followed through on commitments, and they made it really hard for other people to slack. So good and bad at the same time, right? High standards, high standards. So I'm going to meet with each of you one-on-one now. I want to wish all of you luck. I'm allotted anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. If it takes about 20 or a little less, that's not bad. Meaning a shorter one-on-one with you doesn't mean bad, and longer doesn't mean good. It just means I have certain questions for different people. What I will tell you is that when you leave, I will be watching, and I'm really excited to see you. Hopefully join TLA. I can tell you my personal mission is to create the most explosive Leadership Academy program out of all 6 divisions. And we have a track record, as you can see, with the number 1 and number 2 branch of breeding success, and hopefully you can be part of that. So any general or specific questions before I move one-on-one? Anything with what I covered today? Everything's pretty clear? Okay, looking forward to it. So I'll put you guys back in the front room. You guys can hang out, and if people come in for the Cutco rep interview, just make sure they sign in and let them know. Okay, thanks everybody. And I'll pull you back one-on-one in just a second.